Holy smokes. Yeah, you got that right at least. Okay, doing this again. Fairly interesting to me also to find this kind of routine and then figuring out what works and works not. And what seems to work for me is to do the things that I want to do when I feel like doing them. Now, there are certain barriers that you have to overcome before you can do the things that you want to do when you want to do them. And some of these barriers are expectations and needs of other people. Right? Expectations are nothing else but needs from other people that they haven't figured out how to fulfill. And as I see it, most people will stay that way. Most people will rather be miserable than to admit to themselves, damn it, I could have changed something 20 years ago. Only if they could have, they would have done it, right? If they could have, they would have done it, but they didn't, and therefore, they never took the time to do it, and maybe it was their life that also just didn't allow them to do it. It's very possible. It's very possible. So you cannot look down on people and say, hey, they didn't change, these people are all idiots, because these people were somehow trying to keep their life together. And sometimes your trauma is just too heavy and you just don't manage without help, right? And maybe you just had too many other things to do. Maybe suddenly you were pregnant, right? Suddenly you were a father or a mother, somebody died, there was no money, so you just had to work constantly. All these things are entirely possible. Now you could say that I am one of these people who had it fairly easy, yeah? Oh yeah, that guy can dance around and, wear his cap backwards and wear flowery shirts, that his wife gave him. Or she paid for it at least. And I'm wearing it in her honor. Yeah. And, now I've done it again, I slipped away from talking about myself and mentioned somebody else. So, right, you could look at me, or even I could look at myself, and in fact, I have looked at myself the way you might look at me, right? You might dig a bit in my upbringing, right? You might listen to my content and you may think, well, yeah, that guy had it so easy, his family's kind of middle class, right? There was at least a bit of money available, and that's why he could go studying, and that's why he could study for 9 years. That's why he went to South Africa, and that's why he, right, can just live at home with his parents and just do all these really nice things that he's doing, figure out his life. You can do all these things, and then you can say, what an asshole, right? I mean, I've met those people. And I was one of these people. I was trying to live my life in the way that I would have liked it, but in my mind, I was constantly sabotaging it because I thought I was supposed to do something else. Now, while I was studying, I went to study and everybody expected from me, that guy's gonna study now. And the expectations I got from home were, you're gonna study, And because now you study to be an engineer, you also should be an engineer, right? Because, right? Right, my dad's in the industry, right? He's a salesman in the industry. And so his expectations was, oh, my son, finally he figured out what to do in his life and he's going to study and be an engineer and then, we will work in the same area and, we're gonna be really good friends. Well, that didn't really work out. Because although I did study, and sure, my parents supported me, and they also supported me going to South Africa financially, because for some reason or other, I never really had an interest to just work for money. Now you can say you have to face reality. You can say now, well, look how good he had it. But I didn't. I mean, look at how easy it is for you. If you only have an interest in money, and that's your goal in life, right? If your goal in life is to earn money, then in this society it's fairly easy for you. So you can look down on me, but I also had to acknowledge that I'm simply different. I am not driven by money. Money itself does not motivate me. What motivates me is, first of all, what I can do with that money. And what I could build with that money, that is what motivates me. But if I have, nothing that I want to build, then why should I earn money? I mean, people were always saying you need money and you need this and you need that. But if you grow up and you see the people telling you you need money and they are completely depending on it, then it's not very motivating. Because I was always, even as a child, I didn't just look at what people were saying. I looked at what I was actually seeing. And what I was seeing was people that were running after money, but that had no idea what to do with it. They had no idea what to do with it, so all they did was just earn money. And then it was wasting away. And, right, the large amount would be paid off by taxes. And, then you have these kind of, prices are rising and dropping. So the value of the money that you've earned and that you are now keeping on your bank account because you're afraid to lose it now is constantly decreasing. So your money is worth less and less. So if you just earn money because you want to have money, then you clearly have no idea what to do with that money. And so for me, without a real purpose in life until I was about 30 years old, I had no interest in money other than having it to just do what I wanted to do, right? I just wanted to play around. But I didn't want to work for that. I mean, I just wanted to have a good time in life. And I wanted to do what I wanted to do, and at the time it was just living, right? And so, yeah, my parents financed me, and you could say I had a good time. But it got to a point where I realized that just having a good time can eventually turn into a very bad time, right? You can have a good time sleeping around with all kinds of women for the rest of your life. Yeah, and then eventually you will have to face some kind of sexual disease, and you might even die from that, right? You may have a good time with psychedelics, for 1 year, and then after 1 year it's just getting worse and worse, and suddenly you're dead, right? I mean, that's what good times can bring you. Good times can bring you bad times, because good times are an escape plan. Because on the inside you feel really bad, and so you're trying to escape that, and then suddenly you have to face all that stuff that you were trying to run away from, because stuff is just piling up, right? It's just going to get heavier and heavier, and it's going to push you into the ground, and at one point it's just so heavy that you either fight back or you submit to it. Well, and then you just have to look at people like Chester Bennings. bye bye. And I was at that point. I was just trying to have a good time. And I was kind of selfish in a way. But somehow I just, right, it's often we live our lives until there's just no way to outrun our feelings anymore. And my feelings were that I actually wanted something else. So, I ran away from home and I studied for 9 years. And I made a lot of experiences that helped me to grow. So I'm really grateful for that. So instead of thinking, I sucked all that money out of my parents, I see it like that. My parents wanted to have a child. And they say, that what they really want is for me to be happy. And if that's the truth, then parents should do what parents should do, and that's make sure that their child, and every child is very specific, gets what the child needs, right? Now I can't help that I was, I was never very motivated. I had short periods where I felt motivated, and usually I needed other people. And I was really easily drawn into feelings of depression. I was often really heavy. Most of the time I was sitting around. I didn't do much. And then I went to study. And when I went to study, I realized a bit of how freedom felt like. But now the problem was, while I was enjoying that freedom, it was also nagging at me. Because I realized that it was kind of an illusion. That I wasn't really free because I was depending, right? I was depending on the money I got from other people that were working for it. And at the same time, I was having a good time. And they thought, well, they probably thought I was working very hard. I don't know. But I also was always honest about it. I didn't lie and I didn't say I studied a lot. I studied as much as I needed to push through my studies. And the rest of the time I went hiking, cooking with friends, going cycling, this kind of stuff, right? And the largest part of my studies was basically trying to have a good time, because I could never really have that at home or where I come from, because it's a very industrial area. It's not very nice to go out here. And where I studied, there was a lot of parks, a lot of nature, and I had a friend and we went hiking a lot. We cooked a lot together. And we did a lot of stuff together, right? We went cycling, and I really miss those times sometimes. But I also have to realize, now I'm living in different times. And I think that's what a lot of people have. They really miss their childhood, or they miss their school years or college or whatever, and they miss their birthdays, and they miss so many things. And what they forget is, because now they have all these responsibilities and they have to work and they have to look like they're adults, right? And they have to present themselves like, "Wah." But what I realized that ultimately is keeping you from actually enjoying life. And it's just gonna get you more frustrated and frustrated. And the reason I, in the end, started to do other things like create content and distribute it amongst all of you was that I simply acknowledged the opportunity I had been given by life. Because sure, I did go and study for 9 years, I did my thing. I barely earned any money myself. I did work for 9 months at a call center, and there I earned roughly like 8,000 euros, and I used that money to go to South Africa. But at one point I ran out of money, and then my parents kept supporting me. That was how it was. And I used money to make experiences, so the money I had earned before I went to study, because I did work at a supermarket, and you have money from birthdays, and I saved a lot of that. So maybe I had about 5,000 euros on my account when I went to study, and I used that to buy diving equipment, to make a diving course, and to travel to Jordan. So I always spent all my money because I wanted to invest it. But that only started when I was actually studying. Because then I had other people that showed me roughly how to do other things, right? That's where I picked up walking barefoot and slacklining and hiking and cycling and all these things. I picked them all up while I was studying. And then I used up all my money, and then, bless my parents, they helped me to work myself through that. And now you have to understand that when I came back here and I had no money on my own, but I had the feeling I was supposed to earn money, right? Because somehow that's what you do in this kind of system. You earn money and you contribute. And then, I had a degree in environmental protection, and I was now 29 years old or something. And then I was living in this giant house. It's not that giant, but it's quite big. And there's a big garage to it, and there's cars in that garage. And, like all kinds of things, right? Like a motorcycle. I'm not lying about these things. These things are all available. And then I would live this kind of lifestyle, saying, I'm spiritual. That's just when it started. I'm spiritual. I don't like money. I'm walking barefoot. I was walking barefoot all the time in winter in cities everywhere. And I had a long beard, just like now, and I had long hair. And I was cycling, right? When I wanted to get somewhere, I cycled. And I was trying to go out a lot into nature, and I was doing my hiking, and then psychedelics came, and then I was doing these things. And I did work for a while at Costa, and I did some kind of student job, and at the same time I tried to just keep my life together and write my thesis, which took me an incredible amount of time. And I did all these things, and while I was doing all these things, trying to feel good about living my life without earning lots of money and having my own apartment, I felt constantly like I was a complete fuck up. Like I was lying to myself. I was a complete phony. That's how I felt like. Because imagine, you leave the house and then you cycle barefoot, dressed like this, and you cycle barefoot to the boulder hall, and then you go bouldering there, and people see you and they think, whoa, what an interesting guy, he's got a beard and long hair. And once they realize, you haven't got any money really, that you just like scratched together 10 euros so that you could go bouldering, the way people look at you changes. I've had situations where women came to me to talk to me, and I was really honest by that time already. And actually what I'm telling you now happened only a while ago. So somebody came to me and she showed some interest. Oh, I haven't seen you in a while here, she said. And then I answered, because I hiked there, right? I hiked there because, I have no car. The weather wasn't really nice, it had snowed, so I don't really want to cycle with a racing bike. And no money for the bus, no car, no nothing. I didn't want to ask anyone, so I hiked there. For 2 hours, I hiked to the climbing hall, and then I had these 11 euros that I scratched together to go bouldering, and then I went there, and then this young blonde woman came, or not that young, maybe around my age, and then she said, oh, I haven't seen you in a while. She showed some interest, and then I said, yeah, I didn't have money to come. And when I said that, you could immediately realize that all her interest just went down the drain. I tried to engage with her once. She just completely ignored me. She just walked away from me because, oh yeah, if you don't have money, I don't have an interest in you. She didn't even ask why I didn't have money. I mean, she could have said, oh yeah, how's that, right? But as soon as I said that, all interest was gone. And I really, really dislike that about this society, that people think if you don't have money, you're literally nothing, right? If you live at home and your father's earning the money and you're a child, sometimes people give you this feeling like you have no right to do anything because you don't earn money and you don't work, right? That's what people say. You don't work for this system, so you have no right to be happy at all, right? Because I'm working, I'm supporting the system. Oh yeah, you're helping the people to rip out trees and make pavements and just, slaughter nature wherever you can, good job. So you realize, I was trying to live my life like every day was my birthday, because it is. Every day I open my app, I'm literally being reborn. Because I have no idea where I was while I was sleeping. I'm literally dead. When I close my eyes and I fall asleep, I feel like I'm dead. I might have a dream, but when I wake up, it's like, there I am again, there I am again, okay, another round in heavenly hell, right? Or hellish heaven or something. Or hell of, no. So that was roughly how I tried to live my life and be happy about the things that I wanted to do with the little amount of money that I need to simply keep going. Right? So I didn't buy anything. What I have available. I'm very simplistic. I don't need a lot, but still sometimes people give me the feeling like I'm using all the resources, right? I'm wasting all the money that they have. And that's the vibe I get from partly my parents. And that feels really shit, because if you have a child, you should be prepared for something like this. That you might have a child that cannot just do what everybody else does, that has other ideas for his life or her life, and that wants these ideas to sprout. Because we need these people who want to live every day of their lives like it is their birthday, so that other people can get inspired by them and try to bring a little bit more happiness into their lives. But that's now the problem, because the system or the industry, they don't really need you to be happy, because they want you to be miserable, because when you're miserable, you're going to buy all these things, right? If they push you down enough and suppress all the needs that you have, and make you pay tax for everything, and make everything just a little bit expensive and just a little bit hard to have any kind of freedom in your life. I mean, you can make self-employed super complicated for the people that want to be self-employed, so that they just don't want to do it anymore, right? You have like forms to fill out that nobody understands. These are all barriers where they try to get you to simply work for the system so that the system can keep running. Well, it's very hard to live your life like it's your birthday every day when you think life is really complicated, while if you actually look at it, it's pretty simple. If you start just ignoring some of these things, right? I mean, I can simply ignore the world outside and just look at how I feel inside here. But once in a while, I also have to make like a status check, how is life actually looking in, outside, because now I feel quite good inside, but maybe I want to carry some of it also to the outside. So if I'm having a blast every day, which this society, as much as I may hate it, also supports, because it is a system that's working, and because this system exists, I can live in this room however much I think it should be different, but that's how it is at the moment. And that means you live in a state of acceptance, right? You accept the way things are in your life. And so I realized, I'm a bit like a fox. I look at what's available and then I'm trying to make use of that in a way that kind of helps me, but also my surroundings. So I had to look at what are my abilities, what can I do? Because as soon as I started to work for somebody else, they didn't want me to do what I want to do. they wanted me to do what they wanted to do. But I don't want to do what they want to do. I want to do what I want to do. And I want to show people that it's actually possible. And I wanted to do nothing else but what I want to do. But now I realized, well, if I keep asking people for money, at one point these people may vanish. That's how it is. People die and then they kind of are vanishing. So this kind, everybody's a bit selfish. You just have to say that. So you realize, oh damn, I can't just keep asking my parents for money, because first of all, I feel kind of shit with it, and I'm not really free to do what I want if I'm not earning my own money. And at the same time, this source of money will stop coming at one point. So I have to figure out something else. And then I was living in this house and I realized at some point, why do I keep living like there is no money? Because there is. And if I'm being a burden to other people, at least I can try to be a burden that works on being less of a burden. And that's literally what I tried then to do. I simply continued living my life, trying not to feel bad for the way I felt and what I wanted. And it's very hard, but I kept doing it. And when it started to happen really intensely was when I tried for the first time to somehow get to Amsterdam. And I realized without money, it's literally impossible to be there. And I didn't want to work for anybody else. I had promised that to myself. And I really wanted to take responsibility for the for the abilities that I saw in myself, but that I simply could never truly express because people were pushing me down. And so I said, I'm gonna live here, I'm gonna eat the food that is there, and I'm going to keep working until people realize, what I can offer. And that was basically all there is to it. So, congratulations, it's your birthday. If you just heard all of that, well, you might have just woken up to something you tried to ignore all this time. Your heart's desire. And my heart's desire is to do these kind of things, to move, right? To move freely and to create space where other people can express and experience themselves. So what I really disliked about all this money is that everybody I saw was kind of selfish about it. They just wanted to have money, but they didn't really want to share it. They just wanted to keep it for themselves so that they would feel rich or something. But the only way you can feel really rich is if your heart is filled with love and all that kind of stuff and passion. So you may have a lot of money on the bank account, but all that gives you is fear because you're afraid to lose that. So people think money gives freedom, but it doesn't. Because money is just money. And if your mind is trapped, then how can you be free? So you first have to free your mind, and then you go and do something with that. And so when I dance, that's one of the things, to learn to move my body in new ways so that I get into states of flow. Wow, it's so itchy. What is this? So that I get into states of flow. I'm constantly, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I feel like I want to go out. I feel like I want to take pictures. But right now, I don't really want to do that. It feels like I'm being drawn away from this place. It's a very strange feeling. It feels like I'm being drawn away from this place. But right now I want to stick with this. Actually, I really feel like going out today and taking pictures. I really feel like, at one point you just need to leave the house. But that's the problem, at one point you also get a little bit afraid of doing that. Because I don't want to face this stuff out there sometimes. I like being in my room. To a certain degree, right? And another point is, I don't really want to be here anymore, right? So what good would it do to me to go out here and connect with people, because I don't really want to be with them? I don't want to be here anymore, specifically. I want to be somewhere else. But I don't really know where, and my life at the moment doesn't really show me anything else but this place. And I really want to get away from here. And so yeah, I force myself to be alone so that I can learn to move in new ways, that I can express my feelings and my emotions, that I can have a good time alone with anybody without anybody really judging me. I can then create content about feeling trapped, because at the moment I see that there is a desire to leave this room, and I see there is a desire to be outside, but I also have the feeling it's like I'm kind of running away from myself. It's like a distraction, and right now I force myself to be here, to just stay where I am and just keep doing what I'm doing. Because if I constantly in my life have the feeling that I want to run away from myself, but this at the moment is myself. I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you, and I move. I don't want to leave the house because right now I'm learning to do these kinds of things, because I want these things to get easier. Now I want my movements to become more like, because when does flow happen? When you feel an emotion and you let something else express it, you just allow your body or your hands or your mouth, or through art, right? You allow whatever you feel to express itself. And so I want to learn that through movement at the moment, through dance. And I can post pictures of where I am all the time, but I don't want to post pictures of this place no more. I have done that adequately. I don't want to go into this miserable city here. I want to see other places. I have enough of this place. And that's why I stay in this room and I keep working until something else comes up. And that's kind of a hack job, that's kind of, yeah, it feels a bit self-suicidal, because who am I trying to kill? I'm trying to kill the person who's constantly running away from responsibility. Of course, sure, I could say, if I go for a walk now, and I take pictures, I can use these pictures to move out of here. But I don't want to. It's just the urge to get away from being here and producing content and sitting in front of the camera and talking about stuff. That's the urge I have. I want to get away from that. But I want this to be, that it feels like my birthday. Every time I sit here and I talk to people, I want this to feel like something that I actually feel like doing. Because if I don't manage to get this to that place, then I will constantly have the feeling, oh, I'm only doing this because, I have no other choice. But I want this self-employment to be my happy place in general, just like doing other things. But I want this to be something that I like doing when I'm doing it. I don't want it to be a trap, so I also don't want to think I have to share everything. But right now it's also about reaching people so that people realize what I'm talking about. So that's a bit of a trade-off, right? But if you're trying to build your own business and you simply believe in yourself, then what's holding you back? I mean, there are people who want to build their own business, and what do? Yeah, they buy followers on Instagram. I mean, have you no shame, mate? Oh yeah, you have. That's why you did that. So, I want to work myself out of this with my own abilities. So, I advertise what I'm doing by doing it. I write articles, I make artwork, I talk about what I'm doing, I move. This is what I'm doing to get out of the way that I used to feel. And I just keep doing it because it works. Every time I feel terrible, this is what I'm doing. These are the things that I'm doing to feel like, yeah man, today's my birthday, right? So what I'm doing is opening up to myself. I'm opening up to how I feel. When I sit down here and I talk about why I want to go and leave this place right now, then I open up to me feeling like that. And then I can say, oh wow, absolutely. Because I also have to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I simply don't want to tell it to people who think, who then start saying something in their turn because they want to look smart as well. Because if I say these things, people feel required, like they have to say something. If I say these kinds of things, then people want to sound really smart as well. They want to sound like they also figured out stuff. And then they just say things that they think sound smart. But the problem is, if you don't feel it, you may think some of the stuff that I say sounds really smart. But if you don't implement these things, if you don't feel these things, if you don't truly know what I'm talking about because you haven't figured it out yourself, it's kind of meaningless, isn't it? And that's the whole point. That's the whole point. And I think what you can see in the stuff that I'm doing is people's reluctance to admit to themselves that they need help because they want to live their life and act like I've got it all figured out, right? I'm super happy. Yeah, I'm doing my job, I'm earning money, and I buy a lot of stuff that I then throw away. Yeah. And the other part is that I think some people, they're just cowards. They just don't want to face emotions, and that's what my stuff is all about. It's about emotions, right? If you don't want to face the reality of how you feel, then listening to me talking about how I feel to you is basically unbearable. How are you supposed to listen to somebody open up to the camera if you can't even open up to yourself, right? This is very, very unbearable. So yeah. So if you want to live your life like it's a birthday every day, then you have to start opening up. But that also means, you don't have to sit around for 1 year and wait till it's your birthday and then get presents and then feel good because of that. No, you simply live your life every day like it's your birthday, and that's the present. That's the present. I don't need presents from anyone because the present is already, I opened my eyes and I'm alive. Thank you, I could have died during the night. Do you realize that? You may actually never wake up. Every night you lay down and you close your eyes. Who says that you're gonna wake up? So you woke up, and that's the present, man. That's the present. You're alive today. You can do something. So what do you want to do? What do you want to eat for breakfast? I mean, maybe you have a job right now, right? Maybe you're living this 9 to 5 kind of thing. But what about the weekend? You think about, what do I want to do on the weekend? Do I want to go hiking? Do I want to eat pancakes? It's like transitions. You do baby steps. Hey, I really like to crochet hats. Okay, take your time and figure it out, because it's gonna take a while before you can really crochet hats and feel good about it. You always have to push through the learning phase. And I had to push through my learning phase to realize I actually want to be self-employed. right? I had to work for a lot of people to realize that I want to be self-employed, because there were several factors that hinted that to me. I hated it when people told me when to eat and how long I had to eat. I also never liked it when people told me how to work or what to work on or in which way I should do that work, because I had my own ideas. And if you have a boss, that boss wants to tell you exactly how to do it. But I don't like that. I like to figure it out for myself. I like to decide when I go to bed. I like to decide when I want to eat. I like to decide how long I have to eat. And I also like to decide when I go on a holiday and how long I go on a holiday. But if I would decide I want to take 1 year off from doing all of this, then I would do it. And then you have to work on that you don't feel bad about it. But for that, of course, things have to first run smoothly. They first have to run smoothly. And I don't like to just vanish anymore. Now I want to stick around. So if I probably would never take a whole year off. I would keep producing content once in a while, and then I would schedule that ahead so that, I produce something now, like I did with my podcast. I have the whole year, it's already scheduled. Every week there's a new episode coming out. And also for YouTube, there's already until the end of April, there's at least 12 videos per month. So, oh yeah, next month is April. Yeah, and after that, now I maybe have to start thinking, creating new content. So that's then for me to decide, right? Because I'm not gonna be able to maintain this all the time. Because people also need to have the chance to work with the stuff that I created. And I have to have the chance to grow as an individual and a person. And that means there always have to be times where I simply stop filming myself and where I create nothing. Because during these times, I can grow and I can learn new things. And I really appreciate these times also. But right now, I'm still working on that because I realized in a system that relies on money, when you want to be free or have the freedom to also share your freedom, you have to provide spaces, and for that you need money, right? If you want to give people a space where they can experience how they feel, so if I want to keep doing that, I also need money. Equipment breaks. Equipment breaks, that's all there is to it. If my laptop crashes, I won't produce anything anymore. When this camera breaks, I cannot do live sessions anymore. When I have no food anymore. So how am I to support myself? If people are too selfish. Well, of course, if they cannot see my value, then that's just too bad. I've tried, that's all I can say. I've tried, I'm doing my best to give people something, an experience where they can learn from. But I can't force them. I cannot force them. You can't force anybody. So all I can do is try and give it my best shot. At living my life like it's my birthday, I can just give it my best shot. And that's roughly it, right? And so what I started to say at one point to myself on the inside all the time, you never quit. Never, never, ever quit anymore. Never quit on your dreams. Never quit on your dreams, no matter how impossible they seem. Because on the other side of impossible, there's possible. And if I can choose, then I can choose possible, right? If I can choose, then I can choose possible. So why wouldn't I choose possible, right? Because I realized by now it is perfectly possible to keep your room clean every day, to move every day. It is possible to produce this much content that I've produced. It is possible to grow as a being and a person. It is possible to get from, I don't know how to do art like it's nothing. You know, like to do art in a kind of habitual way has then the often, you know, it might be that it kind of loses its meaning. But only if you allow it to, because what's the meaning in producing art? It is to inspire people. And so if I produce art, you know, I make one post, even if it only reaches one person, you know, that person maybe liked that. And maybe that inspires the person to do something else in their lives. Because the more people jump on the train of, you know, I can live my life every day like it's a birthday, the happier we as a society will become, and the less we, as the whole, you know, population of this earth, will have to produce to make ourselves feel better about the way we feel. So the less we consume, you know, the more happy we get as individuals, the less we as a total need to consume, and the less we consume, the better off nature will be. Because the more happy we get, the more we want to share, and the more we want to share of that happiness, you know, the more we have to take care of nature and go back to the way things used to be, where you're just okay, you know, to have what you have. Where you don't feel like, you know, I'm sitting at home and I need this and I need a new bike, and then you buy the bike because you think what you need to be happy is to bike more, and then you have the bike and you don't bike. Because if you don't bike with the bike that you have, then you don't want to bike. So if you don't go hiking with yourself, then a camera won't really change that for you. And that's what I've realized. You know, I did buy a camera and then I did hike with it. But at one point I realized, at the moment, I don't really want to hike. You know, I don't really want to hike all the time. What I want to do is do this. I want to be in my room, you know, and just be a bit stupid about it. But also serious about being stupid, if that makes sense, right? Now, I don't want to just sit around and, you know, I also want to give something that you can work with, because I take this very serious. You know, you can be an idiot about life and you can be smart about life. And being smart about life is to live how you feel. And if at the moment you feel terrible and you don't really live, well, then you have to change that to a place, you know, you have to change your life until it all looks like a Zen garden. You know, and a Zen garden is all about energy flow. And that's why my room used to be very different. You know, I don't have to show you around my room now, because there's enough footage where you can see how my room looks like. But the way my room used to look like, there was a square wooden framed bed that was 2 meters long and 1.40 meters wide. And that was standing here. That was my bed. So you can imagine how this room was completely already, you know, most of it was a bed. And then I had a desk standing here. You know what? I'm just going to show you how it used to look like. Just to explain something to you about how energy flows, right? I'm just going to... So just imagine... Wow. Right, this is the room. Okay? This is where you come in. This is the door. This is the closet. And now it looks like this. There's a lot of space to move here. And this is my mattress. You've seen that already. That's where I sleep on. That's my bed. And how it used to be was, yeah, that's now where my standing desk is. And how it used to be was, I had a desk for sitting, and that was here. You know, quite a big desk. That's already one part of the room. And then I had a bed that was 2 meters long. It roughly went until here. And then 1.40 meters wide. Maybe like this. Because I wanted to have a big bed, right? For whatever reason. Yeah, and so the bed went until roughly here. And then I had, I think, a shelf here, and then, or like a cupboard, something like that. Then I had one here, and then I had that closet. And, well, what happened at some point, I came back from Amsterdam, and somehow, you know, I was in this phase, you know, I'm just gonna take apart my whole life. I'm gonna take apart my entire life and just see what happens, because everything I had done until now just simply didn't work. And so I came back and I felt terrible, I felt incredibly depressed, and after a while I just realized, okay, something has to change. And what changed was, I started going through everything that I had. You know, I made a big fire, I burned some pictures and stuff, you know, clothes. I filled seven roughly or 8 plastic bags with stuff, and I didn't care about it, you know, I didn't want to sell it, I didn't want to make money with it. This was stuff that I just wanted to go, yeah? This was stuff I just wanted to chuck out. Just wanted to throw all of this junk out. I didn't really know why I was doing it, but my feelings said, I woke up one day, this all has to go. I need more space in my life. Then I took that bed and just hacked it apart, and I took the mattress, and my parents were like, oh, you can't throw that away, because, you know, they're the kind of people that just keep everything. You know, the cellar is full with stuff. And I just threw it all away. You know, I took all these Blu-rays and DVDs I had and all the CDs, just chucked them out. And then other people took it. You know, they sneaked it off because, you know, they like to collect all these DVDs. For me, that's just junk. If I want to watch something, I go online. Right? We're living in the age of online stuff. I don't have to have anything at home anymore. So I didn't have use for a TV anymore. And I didn't have use for a Blu-ray player anymore. I didn't have use for anything of these things anymore. So they all left. And then I took apart the bed, threw it out. And what I realized is, as I was doing this, other people were so anxious about what I was throwing away, you know, that they were even giving me a hard time. But I just kept doing. I said, leave me alone. I want to chuck this out. Let me chuck it out. Why do you need this vase? Why do you need this vase? You have a whole drawer full of vases. Like, why do you need this particular thing? Because if it's just like, get rid of it. You know, everything where I felt like there was some kind of emotional attachment to it, to people from my past, and I just wanted to get rid of it, I simply got rid of that. And then for a while I was sleeping on this mattress, but I realized that my back was aching. And so I got this one, and you've seen it. You know, it's like a bit like a futon bed. That's where I sleep on. Because if you sleep on your back on such a mattress, then you will feel how fucked up your back is. And if you lay on such a mattress and your back starts to hurt, then the one thing that you know is you have to start moving more. You have to start moving. Because I was at the point I wanted to feel how I feel. And if I keep like pampering myself into feeling comfortable and I make everything soft, then I have the impression I don't have any pain. Because, you know, some people, they have these mattresses that are supposed to support your back. But it's not the bed that should be supporting my back. My body should support itself. My muscles should support my back, right? My muscles should support my spine. Why do I need a mattress that does the job of my spine? It's not possible because a spine needs to move, right? That's what a spine is supposed to do. And to get to the point where you can move, everything is cracking in my back. So you have to be also a bit like gentle with this. So to live your life like every day is a birthday means you have to live life in a state of flow. And you cannot live in a state of flow. You know, if you walk into your house and there's like, whoa, imagine there was a bed here. I couldn't even stand here. I couldn't do this because there was a bed here. So I felt like, you know, I was living my life and everywhere I walked, there was an obstacle. It was like, oh wow, it's like this room was so full with stuff. It was so cluttered. This has to go out now, it has to go out. And I knew it had to go because it annoyed me. And also, look at the color that this room has. It's like earth, right? This is a very good color. You know, some people have pink. Terrible, terrible colors. You want your walls to look like a bit earthy. This is like earthy. You know, we like round shapes. I would never build windows like this. If I would build my own windows, they would be round, because round is a natural shape. Square is unnatural, really unnatural. We like round things. Everything is round in nature. Or jagged, right? It's like, you know, you need a bit of chaos, but not too much. So yeah, I mean, these chairs are only standing there because I put stuff on top. So if I want to sit, I squat, right? If I want to sit, I squat. And that's all there is to it. That's literally all there is to it. It's very simple. You know, this is my room. I don't have a TV in here. But if I want to, you know, I can watch a movie over a 13-inch screen or something. You know, I can do that. But I don't really do it. I don't have a, I don't know, 500-watt speaker system. You know, I have headphones. Because I don't need to watch really loud movies or listen to really loud music. Of course, sure, you know, if I want to dance and also listen to music, it's nice if the music is loud enough that you can kind of submerge yourself in it. Because that's the problem I have at the moment. Sometimes want to listen to music and then move to it. But, you know, if you only have headphones, it's kind of hard to do that. So what I want to do is I want to have a room with a lot of space and then proper speakers that you can play music. You can just close your eyes and just move. Right? You can just move along the music. Yeah, you can just move along the music. And that's then how, you know, I have to first train myself to even be able to appreciate living each day like it's my birthday. Because I have no appreciation, because I'm so angry inside, well then something has to change. And for me it was first, I started decluttering all these things, just out and out and out. And then I got to a point where I realized, now I like my room. Now I have a bed, I can just put it away. This is 20 square meters. I have more freedom in this room than most people in an entire mansion. Right? And that's basically it. So most of the stuff that I have fits into this room. This is everything that I have. There are some things that are downstairs, okay? But it's not really a lot. Most of the stuff that I have is in that closet. And then I have only this thing. okay, right? And sometimes I feel like I even still have too much stuff. And so if you have an attic and you use it to store things, you use your cellar to store things, imagine what you could do with this place, with this space. If you have an attic and the only purpose of the attic is to store things and you basically never use them, then what you should do or could do is you simply sort all of this stuff out, you chuck it away, and then you renovate your attic and make it a place that you can actually use. You can make like a dance room for it. You can make a meditation room for it out of it, right? You could do so much stuff in a cellar, right? You could really make like a nice feel in your cellar. Get rid of all the stuff that's just standing around. And then you make, like, create nice space where you can move, right? And you first start moving yourself. You just do things that you like. And make each room look a bit different. Yeah. But the idea should be to fill the space that you have with life. And at the moment, you know, I'm trying to fill my own space with life. And that's why moving is very important. Because life is always moving, right? Moving, moving, moving. Yeah, and I also realized, you know, I need to have my own space. So if I want to invite people for dinner, because I like to cook, I'm a good chef, you know, I like to do that, but, you know, I cannot really invite myself to other people and cook there. And, you know, I cannot invite people if it's not my place. So it would have to be my own place. Maybe, you know, I would like to have some kind of cafe at one point where I can simply cook the food that I want to cook and then people come and eat it if they want to. Right? I really like that. I imagine once I was on a festival and there was this guy and he had his truck and he was a bit of a mess, all right? But then people came and they wanted to have waffles and they said, you know, I want waffles. And he just didn't make them until he felt like it. You know, sometimes people even made their own waffles. And he said, what are you doing? You know, I'm just gonna make waffles now because for 2 hours, you know, you just said you're gonna make it and you didn't make it. And then he just did it when he felt like it. And that's exactly, you know, he really inspired me, despite the fact that his place was quite messy. But I liked it because he just created this space. It was a bit like a living room that he carried with him, and people could just sit in there and relax a bit. Because this place where I was, you know, it was like a festival, but the festival was without substances, and it was not really a festival where you go to dance. It was just a festival where you could connect, and cooking was happening together, and people would come, and then you had kitchen duty and stuff. And I really liked that. And I had a good time. And then there was, you know, the person I was with, he was just complaining all the time. You don't really have dance music here. You cannot take psychedelics. I really hate that. And I just had a good time. You know, I was just in the kitchen all the time. Hey, can I help you cook today? He's like, yeah, okay, sure, why not? And what I also really like, you know, if there's a lot of space, you know, I always like to run. You know, I run from one place to the next and right, I jump over things and other people, they go like this. And I would like, yeah, you know, jump. And but if I would have never experienced such a festival, I wouldn't have even known that I can be like this without psychedelics. Because I always thought, after I started with them, I thought I have to smoke, I thought I have to take something to feel good, but this festival was 5 days, and it really showed me that you can do all these things without psychedelics. But then it's easier, of course, if there's people that you can engage with, because if it's just yourself, you know, okay, Then I have to work with myself. And that's then what the challenge I had, because I didn't want to be dependent on festivals or parties or other people, but I wanted to create the space that I feel good in. And this is the space that came out of it, right? This is the space that I came out of it. And when I feel good in here, right, I can move on to another phase in my life. So there's no need to feel bad about the choices that I've made, because I know why I made them. I felt terrible and I wanted to change that, right? I wanted to change that. And that's all there is to it. I felt terrible and I wanted to change that. And if you feel so terrible as I have felt, that you are at the verge of, harming yourself, well, then I literally don't have to feel bad about taking opportunities that were available to me, such as staying in this room and working until I figured out what I want to do. Yeah, and I had to protect that, and I still have to protect it. I have to say, this is my space where I feel good, and I'm gonna share the content that I want to share because I want to share it. And I'm not making this stuff because you think you deserve it or something, or you think, oh, because now I gave him money, now I can control what he does, because you cannot control me. And then you were, a bit stupid about thinking you would give me money and I would do what you want, because I don't. I will never do what you want. I will do what you need, which is what I need, because you need what I want to give you. And that's all there is to it, because I'm giving from a place of truth. And if I feel dishonest about what I'm sharing, then I cannot do what I want to do. And that's basically what it is. And that's why I say, I don't really give a crap anymore. If you're watching this, I don't give a crap about it. You can kiss my ass for all I care. Because I am having a birthday. This is my birthday. Every day it's my birthday. And I do with my birthday every day what I want to do with it. If you don't appreciate that, then go somewhere else. Go somewhere else. I'm not your bitch. I don't do what you want me to do. Because that's the thing that a lot of people think. They follow somebody on YouTube and then they think, I have a right to get content. And if he doesn't give me the content that makes me laugh, then I'm just going to go somewhere else. Well, then go somewhere else, I've been doing this for, when did I start? I don't know, 1 year, 2 years, with basically 0 followers. I mean, I'm ripping my ass off for myself. You think I'm doing it for you? You think I'm doing this for you? Yeah, come on, man. I mean, you're flattering yourself. I don't even know you, dude. I don't even know who you are. Like, who do you think you are, that I stand here and do this for you? No, man, I do this because I like it, I like to take a piss on people, because people are really stuck up. They walk around like, I have a BMW, so I'm a really cool guy. And then they stand around with their phone, and then they lean onto their car, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm a really cool guy. It's like, I drink energy drinks. Oh yeah, I drink tea from fancy cups. Ooh. That's how I'm having a good time. It's like pinky in the air. Oh yeah, that makes me feel really good. Oh yeah. And this is when you can channel your emotions, because you really don't care anymore. Because what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to care about how vulnerable we all are? Because we pampered ourselves into being complete pussies? I mean, that we comforted ourselves into thinking that we're doing a good job as humanity, trampling it with our behavior. Yeah, and then when a wasp comes, while we're eating dinner, we spray it with hairspray or something. I mean, is that what we're supposed to be here? Like celebrating the destruction of life itself? Of taking a piss on everyone who tries to do something with his life? Because that's the people we have. They follow you and they think now, okay, they can make demands. They think they can come into your space and piss on it and leave comments. Like that one guy that started emailing me and makes like jokes. Christopher is, shitting into the internet. Yeah, sure, I'm doing that. I'm taking a piss in the internet. And if you don't get it, what it means to take a shit means you're getting rid of stuff. But at least I'm doing it in a very creative way. And, nobody can take that away from me. That's just how it is. Yeah, and now I'm talking, I feel all high and mighty. But, then it's also time again to get serious and to say, now I've said my bit. I made a little bit of fun of anyone who wants to listen to this. Just to test them a little. Oh, are you really, do you really want to learn from me? Do you really want to learn from me? Like, are you sure about this? Maybe you should go and listen to Elon Musk or something, right? Maybe you should go and listen to, I don't know who you want to listen to, right? Maybe you want to go and listen to, I don't know who. Because are you really sure you want to learn from me? Because, I'm like living a really, really tough life, right? I'm not here to say to you everything's fine. Well, I might do that, but I also always twist the coin around, right? I might say, yeah, you can live your life, like every day is your birthday, but you also have to realize that not all of humanity or all of life can do that at the moment. Because there are millions of cows that stand around in dairy farms that have swollen ankles because you want to drink milk or eat cheese, right? I mean, that's the truth. We are coming and then we eat, what do we eat? Like cheese fondue, right? That's what people do. And we're okay to sit down with our family and in groups and make cheese fondue because cows are suffering every day and are being exploited so that hundreds of people can eat cheese fondue until they feel sick, and then they can have, I don't know, drink wine or do whatever else. Wine that probably is being produced in a place where formerly there was a forest and life, and now it's just like grape plantations. I mean, we feel that that is an okay thing to do, right? I mean, we feel okay to look at stuff because we're unhappy on a screen with our phones, right? We feel okay to walk around with our phones all day, while there are people who work their ass off to get the materials out of the earth where there was formerly a lot of forest, rainforest, and animals, right? All burned down, the wood sold off to somewhere else, and then people, work for literally nothing to get like rare materials or metals out of the earth. And when that place is exploited, they just move on to another place. And then they burn down more forest. Yeah, and at the same time, we're saying, yeah, we want the environment, blah, blah, blah. We want to save the environment. Yeah, but nobody does that. You make a tweet. Do you know how much shit one tweet produces? How many resources are being wasted because you want to tweet something and make yourself feel important? Do you realize that? Like, do you know how much shit is being produced by me streaming this nonsense into the world about stuff that should be basic knowledge? Like, everybody should know what I'm saying here. Everybody should know these things. But we just take life for granted, we take ourselves for granted, and we take everybody around us for granted. We take it for granted that you can drive around in a car. But every time you use your car, you should remember that the toxic air you produce in order to be lazy is going to land in somebody's lungs, in somebody's food, you know. So it's time we start giving a shit again. We started paying attention and really looking at what this kind of shit show is that we have created. And then sure, you can live every day like it's your birthday and say, I don't give a fuck anymore. But you should also start taking responsibility for the party you're throwing. Because if you're throwing a party all the time and living like it doesn't matter, like la la la, you know, everybody's doing that already. Everybody's doing that already, right? Everybody is like that all the time. And so my message isn't live your life every day like it's your birthday and have a blast. No, it's like take responsibility and start changing something so that the coming generations have a world that is worth living in, because right now it isn't. This world to me is not really worth living in. That's why I'd rather stay inside than to go outside, because outside it's loud, it's dirty, like it's toxic, people are in a bad mood, like it's really disgusting. But because what I see is that all we do is just we keep destroying forests, we keep destroying nature so that we can keep living like this. So I'm talking to the people who create this kind of thing. And sure, maybe I contribute a bit to it, but at least I can talk about it. You know, I'm using the same resources everybody else is using, you know, to just sit around and waste away in front of their TVs. At least I'm using these resources to say what I want to say for nature, because that's what my goal is. You know, I want nature. You know, somebody has to be the voice of nature. And I'm not the only person out there who's doing this kind of stuff. There are more people, right? While other people go to the cinema, eat junk food, and watch crappy movies from Marvel that have no meaning whatsoever. You know, there are other peoples that literally work their butts off to create meaning again in life. To say we have nature. We have to protect that. We have to protect nature because nature cleans our air. And it's working hard to produce all this food and all this stuff that we're using. And we should start appreciating that again. I mean, there's so much food in the fridge, nobody could eat that. You know, do you know how much food is being thrown away? Because nobody appreciates it. You go to a restaurant, you eat food. Do you know what you support there? How much food restaurants throw away? I don't want to support this no more, right? I'd rather make my own food at home than sitting around, you know, drinking tea with people that don't care. So I just want to change that. So it has no meaning to me to go and have parties with people that have parties. Because I don't want to have a party. You know, I want to move my body because it feels good to move my body. Right? And the only way I would want to move my body with other people is if they came to move their body so that they can feel better about doing what they're doing, so that they can contribute to humanity getting to the next level. Because this thing that we've created is not the next level. That's like, you know, decades ago. You know, we're just stuck in the past and we don't even realize this. Because what we're doing here is a really sad joke. It's a really sad joke. And we're trying to tell ourselves that this is the solution. Like, oh, science has given us all this stuff. No, what science has given us is just like, oh yeah, we figured it out now, so we don't have to do anything anymore. What have we figured out? How to exploit the planet. How to be the most selfish species on this entire thing. That's what science showed us. You know, oh yeah, we can be really terrible. Oh yeah, that's true, we can be really miserable. This is how far away from life you can get as humanity. This is what science has shown us. This is where being selfish and, doing your ego trip and saying, we don't need God, we can control life. Yeah, we can make chihuahuas. Oh, what a great accomplishment to take a wolf and then make incest with it until, if a wolf would be conscious, like if you would have a dog, yeah, and you would be able to show that dog what it has become from once being a wolf, it would just hang itself. And that's how some people turn out to be in their lives. What have I become? What the fuck, man? I started out as this beautiful little child, and then I turned out to be miserable and fat and angry all the time. Yeah. I mean, come on. Everybody just sold their soul because they gave up. Yeah. So, start living again. Do something. Just do something. One step at a time. Have a blast, but also realize, things could be worse and they could be better. And, I don't blame people why they don't listen to this yet. Because you really have to confront your own shame and your own shit. And if you don't want to do that, well, that's all there is to it. But I really cannot pretend that it's all good. Because, I feel like sometimes it's good, but if I then take one look outside, I realize why I stand here and why I talk like this.